one thing you know about failure is if you are afraid to move on after a failure, you're probably not going to be the leader that the people need you to be. You've got to learn from your mistakes, you've got to learn from your failures, but you cannot be afraid to make the next tough decision. You just can't be afraid of the circuses in life, because they are out there and you are going to fail. I'm a 3-star admiral. I'm in Afghanistan, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mike Mullen, came to visit, which Admiral Mullen did quite frequently. And after he spends time kind of talking to the troops, he says, hey, Bill, let's go up in your office. Something I want to talk to you about. So we go up in the office, and he says, look, the CIA thinks they've got a lead on this guy, Osama bin Laden. And they're going to want you to come back to Washington, D.C. in a couple of weeks and talk to him about it. I said, okay, sir, yeah, happy to do that. But candidly, in my mind, I was a little dismissive. We'd had a lot of leads on bin Laden. There'd been, bin Laden had been in the Tora Bor, the eastern part of Afghanistan. He'd been up in the Hindu Kush, the northern part. There had been sightings of bin Laden in Iran and Pakistan. And every time, and my unit's job was kind of track down these leads. And every time we kind of tracked them down, turned out it wasn't him. The last meeting I'm in, which is close to the last day in April, meeting starts and the president turns to Director Leiter and says, well, Mike, what'd you find out? Leiter says, well, Mr. President, we have reviewed CIA's intelligence, and we think the chance that it's bin Laden is anywhere between 60% and 40%. Yeah. But when he said 40%, I'm thinking to myself, well, this mission's over. I mean, who in the world is going to authorize a bunch of SEALs to fly 200 kilometers from Afghanistan into Pakistan to hit a compound, this compound, that was 3 miles from the Pakistani West Point, 3 miles from a major infantry battalion, 3 miles from a large police station, and oh, by the way, the Pakistanis have nuclear weapons. You know, who would make that call? So I told the president, I said, sir, I'm going to head to Afghanistan. I was going to control and command the mission from Afghanistan. I said, if you decide to go, I'll have the boys ready. If you decide not to go, not a problem. We've got a lot of bad guys in Afghanistan. We'll just kind of get back to work. So that was a Wednesday evening. I arrive in Afghanistan Friday morning, and as soon as I get up in my office, my phone rings, and it's Leon Panetta, the director of the CIA. And he says, Bill, the president has made a decision. The mission is a go. I remember thinking to myself, whoa, that is a bold decision. And I've told folks, look, irrespective of what side of the political aisle you might be on, I think this will go down as one of the boldest decisions in modern presidential history, because we just didn't know where the guy we called the Pacer was, in fact, bin Laden. Well, the next day, the president calls me to kind of wish me luck and says, well, Bill, what do you think? I said, well, Mr. President, if bin Laden's there, the SEALs are going to get him. If not, they'll get on the helicopters and kind of come back home. The problem with that scenario, and I had briefed the president on this, I had told him, I said, look, if the SEALs get on the ground in this compound and somebody comes out with a gun, it's not going to go too well for that guy, because the SEALs will take care of him. And as they're sweeping through this compound, and more people are coming out with guns, and everybody in Afghanistan and Pakistan carries guns, and then they go from the first floor to the second floor to the third floor, potentially engaging targets, and they get to the third floor, and the guy we thought was Osama bin Laden turns out to be nothing but a tall Pakistani. This will be a disaster of epic proportions. I didn't tell the president that on the phone, but he understood that. He understood the nature of the risk he was going to take. Well, I had to roll the mission in 24 hours. We had some fog in the valley. We launched on what was May 2nd in Afghanistan, May 1st here. Took about 90 minutes to fly from Afghanistan into the target. We get to the target, and you may recall, had a helicopter go down. That was the moment that was captured by Pete Souza, the photographer. You can tell they look a little concerned as the helicopter goes down. Well, the good news was we had Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D. About 15 minutes into the mission, I get the call from the ground force commander, forgotten country, Geronimo, Geronimo, Geronimo. Geronimo was the code word for bin Laden. We finally left the target about 48 minutes, flew back. We had to refuel in Pakistan, and finally the guys got back across the border. I tell this story because it is an interesting story, but also because it's a story about risk. It's a story about risk. Look, if you want to be good at what you do, you can always take the safe way. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking the safe way. But if you want to be great at what you do, you are going to have to assume some risks. You are going to have to assume some risk in your personal life. You're going to have to assume some risk in your professional lives. Sooner or later, you're going to have to get up on that rope and slide down head first.